Hi, welcome to this video on Profitbase Gantt charts version 3. It's been a while since we released a new version of the Gantt chart to AppSource. So in this version there's a lot of new features. I'm going to go through all of them in this video. It might take a while, but you can jump to the section that you're interested in. So let's go into Power BI. So first off is a feature we call focus time. The use case is that when a user opens a report like this, it's going to be centered around the today line. So it's always kind of on the present date, and that's the focus area. So you'll see a section before today, today's date, and you'll see a section after. But in some cases, they're not interested in the specific day today. They might want to start some months ahead. So 3 months from today, or they want to start the report on a specific date. So let's say the start of the year or the start of the quarter. So you always have that as a starting point for your visual. Because whenever I open my report now, it's going to be centered around today. But if we go to the format pane, there are some new options available. And you see focus time almost at the bottom. And the default is today, so that's going to be the normal one. But you can change that to a custom date, and then you can specify a year, month, and day. So now you see it's going to be centered around the 1st of June, and then it's going to show a bit before and mostly after that date. So now every time I come back to this page where I open this report or I do any filtering, the default placements of the timeline will be, or the starting point of the timeline will be around the 1st of June. So if you have a specific time period you want to start at, you can specify that as a specific date. That's hard coded in. So if we go back to the format pane and find the focus time again, there's a third option that you can choose called period before or after today. So if you choose after today and specify the number of days after today's date, like 90, you'll see that instead of focusing around the today's date, it's going to jump 3 months ahead. So 1, 2, 3. And that's going to be where it's placing its focus. If we jump from a page and back, it's going to be centered around July. The next feature has to do with connection lines. So you can, like before, you can add dependency lines between tasks based on your dataset. So you can just drag in those fields like before. But we also have the option to enter these lines manually. So if we say that this task 1.6 audience testing is dependent on the testing UI, we have to complete that task first. We can double click on the audience testing task and go to the dependency tab, add a dependency, and from the drop down you can specify which task. So that's going to be the testing UI, and the testing UI has to be finished before we can start the next task that we're on, the audience testing. Now the offset should be 0 in this case, so we can start the audience testing directly after we finish. So if I click save on this, you can see it's drawn up this line between those two tasks. In connection with this feature, we also have an option in the format pane called dependency offset, all the way at the bottom of the list. If you turn that on, it's gonna move the tasks dependent on other tasks. So if I just toggle this on, you'll see my audience testing task has now been moved to the end of where the dependent task is ending, because that's the criteria we specified. The offset is 0, so you can see the end date for this one is the 27th of September, and the start date of my task is now the 27th of September. If I turn this option back off again, we can still see the line, but it's not filling the logic, or it's not following the logic that the first task has to be finished before the second one can start. So either you have to go into the dataset and change that, or you can, for the part of sake of the visualization, you can turn this dependency offset on, just to move it to the end of this section. So that depends a bit on how you want to manage these details. If you turn it off, you see the dates are as they were before. So the original dates are kept. If I go in and I change the dependency of this row, the offset of this row, I can say this is the same and it's 30 days offset, and I save that. If we now toggle on dependency offset, you see it's not just placed on the same day the prior task ends, it's placed 30 days after, due to the offset we specified in the connector lines. So that's connection lines and dependency offset. The dependency offset will also work for any dependencies created based on the dataset's connection lines as well. So that would be based on the data you add to these two fields. We have two new features that are visible on the on the visual itself. So in the top section here we have zoom in and zoom out like we've had before, but now we also have zoom to fit. So if you click on this, it's gonna adjust the timeline to start where the first task is starting and end where the last task is ending. So you won't get all tasks visible, in the same height, but you will see the timeline, and it's only stretching so you can see all tasks active in that period. So now there's no tasks in my dataset moving past January 26, so my timeline is now ending there. If I zoom in a bit, you see I get a scroll bar, horizontal scroll bar to navigate to the right and left. If you go to zoom to fit, that scroll bar is gone because there's nothing to scroll to. It keeps everything in that time interval. Another feature we added are these small arrows on top here. You can drag this line to the right or to the left to see more of the graph area or more of the data grid area. But if you want to only focus on the data grid, you can click on the right arrows to get the grid view. So now it's only the grid. It's focusing on everything you've added to both tasks and hierarchy, which would be the first column, and every field you've added to additional columns. To get back, you can click on the left arrow to get to the default view, and if you click on the left arrow again, you see chart view, and then you only see the chart. And you can go back to the default view. When it comes to columns, you can now sort based on values. So if you click on the column headers, you'll see you change the order of everything inside it. And you can also decide that you want to store this sorting state. So instead of just this being temporary sorting that the end user is doing and then is resetting back to the default one, you can sort it based on any column and store that as part of the report. And then whenever someone's viewing the report, they'll view it with the sorting that has been specified and stored as a default. You can also select and copy data from the data grid. So just mark it, Control C, find somewhere to paste it, Control V, and then you see you get the colors and the layout with you. The format should be kept. Now there are some exceptions, like these icons that are emoji icons. They're green and red here, but in the Excel export or Excel copy they are different shades of gray, which is not optimal, but we're working on that as well. But you can at least copy out any other information you need. So if you want to know more about this, you can copy that and paste it into your planning tool or anything to filter down directly. So now these are all possible to select and copy. If you add events or event ranges to your dataset or to your Gantt chart, you'll see this shaded area, and you can specify in the format pane what they should look like. So event range, and then you can specify color and transparency, and if you want a border around it, and so on. Oh, yeah, border. Now, a new thing we've added is the option to choose where it should be placed. So now it's behind the taskbars, but if you select above taskbars, it's going to be shaded above them. So this is based on a user request that we added support for, and then in combination with transparency, you can find something that works for you. That makes it a bit more visible than if you place it behind. So it depends on the use case, but now there's more flexibility on how to display these. In this version, we also have support for tooltips, the tooltip pages. So this is a default Power BI feature that we could include in our visual. So if you go to the format pane and the general tab, you can go down to tooltip and toggle that on. And then you have the default one or the report page. So if you go to report page and then you specify, or you pick the page you want to use as a tooltip page, that needs to be configured on this side as a separate page. And then if you hover over the task list, so the lowest item you have in your tasks and hierarchy, you can hover over and it's going to filter down the tooltip page based on the task you're on. So in my dataset there's not a lot of different but related information, but it could have more on statuses or information regarding the tasks that you have. That doesn't fit inside the Gantt chart directly, but you want to have the data available. So that's an option to toggle on in the general section. If you toggle that off, there's no tooltip at all. You also have an option inside our visual to show a tooltip. If you turn that on, it's going to show a default tooltip both on tasks but also on the bars. And the default is start date, end date, duration, and progress. If you want to change these, you can drag any field you have into the tooltip field buckets. If I add the manager to the tooltip and I hover over a task, you'll see the one field that I've added. If I remove it again, it's back to the default selection of dates and duration progress. The next feature is called custom filters. It's a customer requested feature where they wanted to be able to specify a time period that all their users could just select from a list and then jump to that section of the timeline. So to get that, you select the visual, click on the three meatballs and edit, and then you get this menu where you have custom date filters at the bottom. So if you click on this, you can add a new custom date. I could call this July, and the date range for that could be all of July. Let's see, there, and save. Now I have July. I can add another one. So I'll add Q2. So that's going to be a date range, which starts in April and ends in end of June. Apply. And then I can add another one. So I'll call that next 2 weeks. That's going to be dynamic. It's going to be 14 days after today. So I have 3 different custom filters. I can go back to the report. I can go to the format pane, and you have custom filters at the second last option. If you toggle this option on, you'll see you get a filter box in the top toolbar. So if I click on this, you'll see the options that have been created and ticked off in edit mode. If I remove the tick box next to them, they'll disappear from this list. So if I now click on July, it's going to zoom into, so the full timeline is going to fill with the selection you have specified. If you go to Q2, it should cover all of April until the end of June. And if you go to the next 2 weeks, it should be today plus 2 weeks ahead. And if you want to remove the filters, you can click X them out, then you're kind of back to the default view. Or you can go to, let's say, July, then we scroll a bit, and if you click on reapply, it's going to take you back to that filter. When it comes to milestones, you can add multiple milestones fields to the milestone buckets. Now I have 1 milestone field here. I can add a second one. Now I have 2. That allows me to show 2 milestones on the same task. If I then go into the format pane and scroll to the milestone section, you'll see that there's 1 field for 1 section for each milestone. So you have milestone and milestone 2. So these will show the names of your fields. So if we change the milestone names to something else, here. So this could be test, this could be, whoop, there we go. Then we can call this other, and then go to the format pane, milestones, and then you see other and test. So I can say other should have a different shape. It should be a circle, and it should have a background color that's bright red. So then you see this milestone field has been formatted differently from anything else. If you have different fields like decision gate 1, 2, and 3, you can add those, all 3 of them, and you can specify different colors for them. Now I'm gonna reset this because this is a kind of a hard-coded formatting for each milestone. If you want to use conditional formatting, you can do that from the more options, so the meatballs and edit. And then in the menu here, you have conditional formatting. If you add a new rule, you can say that this should be milestone color Jonas. Then I'll show you. The rule color could be selection, or you can type in a hex code. You can select it from a grid, then apply. And then you choose where you want to place this. So it's going to be for children, because that's where I have my milestones. And then it asks you where to apply this formatting. So the options are the timeline bars. That will be the bars in the chart area. Milestones, that would be the milestones, or data grid, which is the part of the left on the grid itself. I want to do the milestones, and I want to select this cogwheel as a shape, and it should be a color again. So here you can specify milestone colors. if you selected that you wanted to do formatting to the data grid, then the rule color would apply. But since if you select a milestone, you have more options as well, because you can specify that the fill should be this color and the border of the milestone should be red. Then it asks for a condition, so you can select any one that you've used in the visual, and the condition should be that the manager contains Jonas. So if that's true, and you save that, you'll see we get a bright cogwheel for these two, because they're both on a task where Jonas is manager. Well, this one, I'm manager for this one, so this is not affected. So there's a lot more options available now when it comes to conditional formatting, where you want to apply it and where it should be applied specifically than before. You can also add multiple conditions by clicking on the plus sign and then specify if it's an and or an or condition. And again, pick the fields you want to use. We also had a request for when it came to column headers in the data grid, because some of our customers wanted to add a lot of different fields to the additional columns section, and then it becomes very wide with a long scroll bar. So they wanted to group them, and we added support for that. So if you go to group columns, click on the plus and select new grouping, you can call this section whatever you want. So I'm going to call this dates. You can select if it should be default expanded, so every column in this group is showing. If you don't select it, it's going to be collapsed. The columns are going to be a selection of anything that's in additional columns. So I can select start and end. That's the date columns I have here. And then you can specify a formatting for the grouped header. So I'm going to just do a background color to highlight that. It could be center aligned, and the font style could be bold for the group. And out of the two I selected, I need to specify which one I want to see when the column is collapsed, because you can't add up two date columns into one. So I'm going to use start as my default column. And the main column could have a different formatting if you want. So I can specify this to be bright yellow just to make it stand out a bit. Text wrap is something you can choose if you want. Then if we click on save, you see that the main header is formatted this way with this selection, and I guess it has this expansion style, or expansion button. So if I click on this, it's gonna expand into the two columns, and you'll see the formatting for the group formatting section on every other column than the main column. So if I have 3 more columns as part of this, they would be colored blue in this case. Then you can collapse them. And you can make multiple groups. So I can add a new one, call this others. I'll take the manager, this one, and this one. These are gonna be light green, and the main column is gonna be just the status icon, and that should be red. Save. So now if I go back to the report and I view everything in the default view, now I only have 2 columns, so there's kind of nothing to expand on. And I see this is actually too narrow to show the icon, so that's not a great example, but then we have to make that a bit wider. Here we go. So if I want to see the rest of the dates, I can click on this, and then I get that available. Or if I want to see the rest of this other fields, I can expand on those. And you see they're still placed in the order that they're added to this bucket. So now 2 of these are on this side of the dates group, and the others are on the right side. So if you want to rearrange that, you need to move them around in the list. There we go. And you can of course do this without any formatting of the column headers. So you can just leave it with the expansion symbols and then that's it. Inside edit mode, you also have a new option for conditional formatting. I'm just going to turn off these grouped columns because they take a bit of the attention. We have a section called days off. So if you expand that, you can see that Sunday and Saturday are by default days off. If you go to the format pane, there is an option called days off. So if you highlight weekends, you can see a grayscale for every weekend. So if you zoom into a week, let's see, week, you see Saturday, Sunday are grayed out. And that's because the color has been selected to be gray. It could be any other color you want. And if you go back to, oops, sorry. Oh, we were in mode, sorry. Here is edit mode. If I unselect one of these, you see it's only one day showing as a holiday or as a weekend. I can add new days that should be days off. So I can say Wednesday should also be a day off. The Wednesday is added to the list and added to the grid. You can also add holidays. So you could say it's a specific date or it's a date range. So if we say that we're a bit really excited about Christmas holiday, so we'll call this Christmas, and there we go, Christmas, and it's gonna be yellow. Select that, then you see all of December is highlighted as a holiday. You can also turn on holiday titles, so then this selection will be shown as with the title you give it here. And you can also untick these to no longer show them or turn them off here. So you can add information about what's happening when you have downtimes, when people are out of office, for if you stop production, stop your progress on tasks. You can add these types of days off and so on. You also have an option here called exclude days off from task duration. This will be relevant if you use a start date and a duration instead of start date and end date. So if I add start date and duration, and I specify that the duration is months, yeah, then that's correct with the data I have here. And then if I hover over this, I know, okay. Sum of duration. Yeah, okay, here's, if I remove these. So if I hover over the taskbar, it will show me that the duration of this is 3.03 months. That's the number of days for it to end. If I've specified that Saturday and Sunday are days off, and so I can highlight the weekends, and we see those. Now note that the end date for this is the 1st of October. If I say we should exclude the days off from task duration, then if I go back to this task, the end date has been moved to the 15th of October. And the reason is that it's subtracting all the weekend days in that period. So it's counting working days and not holidays as part of the duration. So what we say then is that the task is going to take just about 3 months of working days to complete, which in reality is more than just the 3 months. It's going to be 5 days a week instead of 7. So it's going to extend the task itself. If you turn that back off, you can see that it's then specifying that it's only start date plus the 3 months, and then you get the end date. And then you don't care about the weekends. So now you have the flexibility to choose how this should be calculated depending on how your data is calculated. So the last feature for today is the new option in conditional formatting to apply a color scale. So if you go to edit mode and find the conditional formatting section, you can go to the plus sign and click on new color scale. So I can call this based on progress. Apply color scale 2 is a bit misleading. It's going to be changed, but it should be apply color scale based on. So I'm going to use sum of progress. That's the field I have over here. And then I need to specify where to apply this. So I'm going to apply it to the timeline bars. And I'm going to apply it to the progress. So that's the fill of the bar itself. And you can choose between diverging. Then you choose 2 colors and you get a color scale. That's kind of a mix going from one color to the other. You can do sequential. Then you get colors, and it's very light on one end as the minimum value, and it gets darker and darker for that color. Or you can do custom. Then you can create different ranges. You can select how many ranges you need and specify which color should be applied in certain value ranges. But if I do diverging and I choose just a lighter red, then this is going to be my range based on my sum of progress. So if I save this, it's going to be applied here, and you can see the bars here are kind of filled in with a color. So the ones that are 50% progress will get the mix of green and red. If they are almost completed, they are green. If they are barely started, like this one with 5%, it has a small progress bar that's currently red. And that's how you can use color scales. You can also apply that to a different section. So instead of applying it to the timeline bars, I can add it to the data grid, and I can add it to, let's say, the manager, and it's going to be the background color that's changing. So if I save this and I scroll to the manager section, you can see here how that applies. That's it for version 3 of the Gantt chart from Profitbase. If you have any questions, you can ask in the comments. We'll try to reply there. You can also head over to our wiki page on GitHub to look through the documentation. Everything should be covered in the feature list there. We also have a discussions tab on GitHub where you can ask questions and we'll reply with screenshots or anything you need to get started. The visual is available from App Source, and we'll add some links in the description of the video documentation, where to buy, and so on. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to follow when we release new videos, if you want to get notified when we release new videos. And thanks for watching. Bye.